when the head coach of the Green Bay Packers says something glowingly positive about the Chicago Bears GM Ryan Poles, I think that's a sign that the Bears may be on to something special. We're going to break down Matt LaFleur's comments on Ryan Poles, DeAndre Swift winning FedEx Ground Player of the Week, and the latest injury updates for the Chicago Bears heading into FGB Week. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go into this content for today, y'all. And Matt LaFleur has something to say in regards to say to Ryan Poles, about Ryan Poles, that I think a lot of Bears fans do need to hear, right? And I think it's objectivity. Now, is LaFleur kind of throwing in a little, maybe trying to put in some positive vibes before taking on the Bears? Maybe. But he said this: I think Poles has done a good job of collecting a bunch of talent. Offensively, they're doing a great job taking care of the football. Defensively, they're doing a great job of getting takeaways. The quarterback's playing a lot better. The run game is humming right now. That's what Matt LaFleur had to say in regards to the Chicago Bears. Now, I do want to say this, right? For a long time, a lot of people had made a lot of conversations about Ryan Poles and where his shortcoming was in drafting. And it was all valid. I want to be clear there. It was all valid, right? Talk about some of the gaps that Ryan Poles has had. But early on in the season, for example, a lot of people were saying, oh, my God, can't believe we passed on Jalen Carter for Darnell Wright. Now look at how Darnell Wright's playing, right? And, I mean, we got to see, this offensive line against Jalen Carter in the last game as well, who's now out with injury. But I think when you look at it, that Ryan Poles has collected talent, and it has been things that have worked out. Now, I do think you need a coach and a scheme and a system and a culture to bring it all together, but let's just look at it, right? Let's look at the players that are on this team that were Ryan Poles acquisitions. Basically, the whole entire offense. Caleb Williams, DeAndre Swift, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, the whole entire offensive line. These are all Kyle Monangai, who I didn't mention, Olamide Zacchaeus. These are all guys that Ryan Poles acquired. The only one that did not is Cole Kmet, right? That is a player that he inherited on that offensive side of the ball. Look at where the Bears rank offensively. But yeah, it's taken longer to get there than what a lot of Bears fans wanted to, admit, right, and wanted to deal with, but it's been there. And that's not to say that there have not been some misses by Ryan Poles, absolutely. But let's go and look at some of those misses. Look at some of those players that just look better, for example, under, a new coaching staff. Noah Sewell's one of those guys. Even Dominique Robinson, who I want to put it in perspective, is looking like a solid depth piece. This is a guy that didn't look like he can stay on the field at all, right? Like those type of guys. Like Javon Dexter hasn't necessarily made the leap that I would have wanted to see under Dennis Allen quite yet. But, to get back into the offensive side of the ball, when you look at how Ryan Poles has had to revamp this entire offense over his, 4 years? Or are we now in year 5 of Ryan Poles? Like, yeah, it took some time to get there. And I want to make no mistake about that. It took time. But this is why when you are drafting, when you are the pieces matter. Who you have that's developing those pieces, who you have that is finding ways to use those pieces matter just as much, right? And so, with all the talk about Ben Johnson, I know there's some people that are like, oh, my God, let Ben Johnson run everything. Clearly, Ryan Poles still doesn't know what he's doing. Like, this thing has started looking better. Look at how we look at DeAndre Swift now and the production he has now versus last year, which even though I've said consistently, DeAndre Swift was not as bad last year as a lot of people made him out to be, but it's taken time and it's taken a vision. And you do need to have a coach that helps drive. Like I firmly think Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, these were picks when you look at how Ben Johnson uses the slot, how Ben Johnson uses his tight ends. These were picks that were based around Ben Johnson's need. Make no mistake about that, right? Let's look at Ozzie Trapillo, Theo Benedict as well, right? A player that Ryan Poles found. Ryan Poles has found talent. And now that we have the right pieces, the right people to bring that talent together and use them correctly, you're seeing the Bears be in a much different space. And that's what you want as a team. That's what you want as a GM. And so while it hasn't been all smooth, it hasn't been all perfect. And of course, Ryan Poles, just like any GM, is going to have his misses. Make no mistake about it, right? But when you look at how people have viewed Ryan Poles over the last 2 years till now, right? There's been some whiffs by Poles. Make no mistake about it. But now you have this offensive line that people are calling the best offensive line in football. Now, Ryan Poles had to get there partially by going out and getting veterans. Of course, you got a piece like Darnell Wright. Then you got pieces like Ozzie Trapillo, Theo Benedict that are younger. But he eventually got there. And that's what it shows to have patience, right? The Bears also have now the number 2 rushing attack in football. Think about how people looked after the Bears, let go of David Montgomery, which he just didn't want to be here anymore, right? So it's about how things all piece together. And this offensive line is a huge reason why the Bears' running game has had the success that it has. There's no doubt about it. But when you look at the number of Poles guys that Ryan Poles brought into this team, you just can't deny what the impact that he's had with his good decisions. And this is why a GM that makes smart decisions is important. Now, one of the questions that a lot of people are going to have on it is, can you continue to do it? We have some clear needs on the defensive line, right? Which is undoubted. You cannot deny that. You still need to find your running back, one of the future that I think. I love Kyle Monangai, and he may eventually groom into that guy. But DeAndre Swift, I think, has one more year in his contract after this year, so you still need to go out and do that. I think you need to continue to find safety depth, even with what we're going to talk about later on with Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker probably both earning new contracts for the Chicago Bears. But even with that, Ryan Poles has slowly but surely started accumulating that offensive talent. And then you look on the defensive side of the ball. Now that Montez Sweat is looking back good, on pace to probably have about 10 sacks on the season, solid. Talked about Dominique Robinson already, how much better he looks. Austin Booker hasn't quite had that leap that we expected based off preseason, but he's still playing solid. Kyler Gordon, a Ryan Poles guy. Kevin Byard, a veteran that Ryan Poles brought in. Jaquan Brisker, injury prone, but another guy that Ryan Poles brought in. TJ Edwards, a guy that Poles brought in. So, slowly but surely we've had to revamp this roster. And a lot of the pieces, too, that we had questions about, some that we didn't, look even better now that we have the right coaches there. And, Ryan Poles was one of the guys that went to bat for Matt Eberflus to stay, so that was still a knock on him. But he recognized that, and now that Eberflus is gone, because we heard even Ryan Poles was one of the first guys to recognize, hey, we need to move on from Eberflus. Now let's look at where this team is, right? Now that we have a competent coaching staff in here, Ryan Poles deserves credit. Just like Kevin Warren, and just like I said, George McCaskey deserves some of that as well to show the reason why he, has gotten out the goddamn way, right? So that's good. That's good to see that we're starting to get to that place where this team is really starting to piece some damn things together. And we just gotta see if that's going to continue for this team, and if they're going to continue to find ways to get this done and to continue, just being the team that we've seen them be at times, right? So let's hope that this continues for this team. Let's hope that things don't stop and this team continues moving in the right direction. We got other things. We still got business we need to take care of the rest of this season. But Ryan Poles has done a good job, y'all. He's done a really good job. It hasn't been perfect. It hasn't been always seamless, but he's done a damn good job at building this team and recognizing once you did get your coaching staff in here, you got those guys in there. Let me go and get guys that this coaching staff needs to be successful. And there's something to be said about that as well. I'm not in any way saying that all of a sudden now we need to be blindly, believing in every single thing that Ryan Poles does. No, I'm not saying that, because I don't think until you have sustained success over time that you should say that about anybody. But what I am saying, though, is that Ryan Poles has deserved for people to realize, like, hey, Poles is starting to put some stuff together. Poles is starting to it seems like he's also recognized where his shortcomings were and where he's failed this team at certain times. Now, let's continue. Let's keep it going, and let's see how we can continue to build this thing on out, right? That's what this has to be about, and we'll see if the Bears can do that, man. We'll see if the Bears can do that and keep growing in the way that we need them to grow. But Ryan Poles, Matt LaFleur gave Ryan Poles some love, so I want to give him some love too. But, hey, LaFleur, don't make any mistake about it. We still about to come kick that ass, FGB all day long. Now, with that said, we talk about one of those players that will look better this year under the new coaching staff, and that is DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift earned the FedEx Ground Player of the Week this week. And, it makes sense. You look at what DeAndre Swift did and Kyle Monangai did against the Eagles on the ground on Friday. It was great to see, right? 18 carries for 125 yards and a touchdown, and he was part of that tandem with him and Kyle Monangai, who also had 130 yards on 22 carries and a touchdown, which I wonder how they decided to go with Swift over Monangai there, considering that Monangai had more carries, more yards, and the equal amount of touchdowns. But nonetheless, the duo that rushed for 255 yards and 2 touchdowns had one of the most dominant rushing performances that we've seen in Bears history. And keep in mind, we are a team that have some pretty dominant run games over our career, right? DeAndre Swift has 774 yards rushing on the season and 11 touchdowns. And he is on pace to have a career year in 2025, which is really good. The Bears also have a 9-3 record, and DeAndre Swift has been a big part of where the Bears sit so far this season. And as the Bears look to make the postseason for the first time since 2020, we're going to need this ground game to continue. And so this is great. This is the first time in DeAndre Swift's career he's won the Ground Player of the Week as well. It's the first time that a Bears player has won the award since Khalil Herbert in Week 16 of the 2023 season. And you got to keep in mind, Caleb Williams won FedEx Air Player of the Week back in Week 3 as well in his performance against the Dallas Cowboys. So that's really good when it comes down to this one as well. So now we got to go out here and continue this process, right? DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai have now shown themselves to be a more than competent duo, one of the best rushing attacks in the game of football, the second best overall in the game of football. And then when you factor in how Caleb makes plays with his legs and all those type of things, this is a big reason of why this team may be having their first postseason appearance. I say maybe just because I don't want to jinx it. You guys have not been able to realize by now I'm a pretty superstitious person when it comes down to all of that. But the Bears have had some really good successes on the ground this year, and it's a really tall order and how they improved after the first couple of weeks of the season. We now have a rushing attack with an offensive line, and when you have those things, when you have a rushing attack that's well above average, and a offensive line that's one of the best in football, those are the makings of a playoff caliber offense. And I didn't even mention the passing game yet, which the passing game has been solid as well. We had a couple of down weeks as well. Like, I'm hoping we have a big week against these cheeseheads. But overall, like the improvement that the Bears have made over the season has been great. It's been amazing to see, and let's keep it going because things aren't done yet. And with that, we got to talk about the injury report for the Chicago Bears, right? That's always the thing. The first injury report of the week is always one that I always say take with a little bit of a grain of salt, right? Ruben Hippolyte with the shoulder injury did not practice, nor did Kyle Monangai, Rome Odunze, or Tyreek Stevenson. All those guys did not participate in practice. I think they're all important. Now, we know that we could be getting Noah Sewell and TJ Edwards back, but I would still like to see Ruben Hippolyte with the speed, especially with Tremaine Edmonds still out, to be able to get out there on the field. Kyle Monangai, we just talked about the importance of the Bears running game and how it is now the backbone of this team. And so you need Kyle Monangai out there. Not to say that DeAndre Swift can't have a big day. And we've seen Travis Homer come in and have solid performances, even though I know nobody's really big on Travis Homer, me neither. But it's the first day in the injury report. We should have the next one to come out here in a little while today. I would not expect, and I would not be surprised to see those guys, at least limited participants, as we go on. Rome Odunze and Tyreek Stevenson. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, for Tyreek, we got Nashawn Wright. Kyler Gordon's back. Jalen Johnson's back. We're okay. But I still think you want everybody out there because Dennis Allen and how he likes to scheme and use those guys. But we do have C.J. Garner-Johnson. We do have Nashawn Wright. We did get Kyler Gordon back. We do have Jalen Johnson back. We still have more than enough. I feel confident against the Green Bay Packers, but I still want us at full strength if we can get there to face off against these cheeseheads. And Rome Odunze is Caleb Williams' favorite weapon. He gets the most targets. We got Oz. We got Luther Burden. Those guys can absolutely fill in if needed. But Rome Odunze is a key part because of the comfortability of Caleb Williams. Now, some could say, hey, if you force Caleb out of that comfort zone of targeting, Rome Odunze 6 to 8 times a game, maybe that spreads it out a little bit more. And I can't blame you for feeling that way. Maybe it does, right? But I hope that we get all these guys back healthy out there. Now, as far as that, the guys that did practice, TJ Edwards was a limited participant on day one with his hamstring injury, which is a good sign for him. Noah Sewell was a full participant as well with his elbow injury. We need those guys out there. Period, point blank. We need those guys out there. I know I've seen people say DeMarco Jackson is better than Noah Sewell, and I do think he's better in coverage. I think they're about similar in the run game, but again, like I said with everything else, I want everybody out there healthy because we're taking on those cheeseheads this week. I want everybody out there. And then, of course, Jalen Johnson, full participant. Andrew Billings, full participant. He's coming out of concussion protocol. And Dominique Robinson, also a full participant in practice. We're getting healthier. We need to stay healthy because, listen, this is a big matchup. And this is a matchup that a lot of Bears fans are going to be super excited to see. I've said it, and I'll say it every time and every week that we take on the Packers. For some Bears fans, win-loss record matters, but beating those cheeseheads matters more. And they will always doubt you if you can't consistently win against the Green Bay Packers. So now the Bears have to come out there and show that. And for what it's worth, on the Packers side, they have a long list of injuries and players that were limited or did not practice in practice. Jordan Love was on the injury report. He was a full participant, though. Marshawn Lloyd, a limited participant. Josh Jacobs, a limited participant. So this is going to be one of those games where the injuries are going to play a huge part of it. And I would say it plays a huge part in just about every single game that's out there. But it's going to be really big for the Bears in this one. Can we take care of business? Let's hope so. Because I ain't got no sympathy for the Cheeseheads. I don't want them to have no sympathy for us. We're going to go out there and we're going to do battle against the Green Bay Packers. The Bears' running game is good. Defense has had the bend but don't break. But like I said, I don't think we've seen the best nearly of this defense yet because they haven't been healthy. We are getting to that point of contention. Let's get there, see what's going to be done. I trust this team. I think we're going to be good, and we'll see what the future does hold for this Bears team. But with that said, let's lean us into the last topic. Talk a little bit about Ryan Poles. And Ryan Poles has an important decision to be made this offseason. I think one of the decisions that's been made as clearly as possible for one, and the player that Ryan Poles has to prioritize and bringing back is Kevin Byard. Kevin Byard, in what he's done this year, he has a 79.9 overall PFF grade, which is fourth highest among all qualified safeties. He's been great in the pass and the run game as well. He has 73.1 plus PFF grades in both pass game and running game. There's no doubt about it. Kevin Byard has been huge for the Chicago Bears team. He sits in the 89th percentile of PFF grades at free safety in the 72nd percentile as far as the run defensive grade. He has been everything that we have signed him to be. Now, we signed him at a big contract at 32 years old. He's now 2 years older than that. So eventually age is going to come up with him, right? I'm sorry, no, he's 32 years old now, right? And so the question then becomes about what is the level of sign? Because I can understand people saying you don't want to sign him to a huge contract extension at that age, right? But the way that I look at it is that if you re-sign Kevin Byard, you get him locked in, you still need to draft a safety one way or another, whether it's to replace Jaquan Brisker or a guy that can eventually take over for Kevin Byard when he eventually rides off to the sunset. And then ideally, you're still going to have a year or so of Kevin Byard being on the bench and being a solid depth piece for you at the minimum, right? But I think what the Bears have shown so far, when you look at both what Jaquan Brisker and Kevin Byard have done this year, I think that things are starting to look where the Bears need to re-sign this safety core, because the thing that I always say, every offseason is about finding answers to the questions that you had on your roster. One of the questions that we don't have right now is the safety position. So why create a new question when you don't, and we can focus on other answers? Kevin Byard had, only one interception last season. He leads the league this year with 6 interceptions going into week 14 and could still get he can get double-digit interceptions this year. It's a possibility for him this year. We shall see, right? But he's playing some of the best football of his career at 32 years old. He's missed just one game in his 10-year career. We're looking at Kevin Byard at 33 years old by the time next season starts. I just think that of course, there's a risk that you have to look at with signing players at that age, but eventually people fall off the cliff, right? But I think when you look at it right now, and you look at his performance, I think if you can get him right now, his current salary is $7.5 million. If you can get him on a deal that averages between $9 and $10 million, we'll see. It will put him at $12 million. Will put him at the 15th highest paid safety in the league, right? So I don't think it's going to take an annual salary that high. I think Kevin Byard has a really good kind of awareness of where his career is. He's even said it before. Hey, every year of my career now may be year to year for me, right? So when somebody has that level of recognition, usually that may mean that you can get him at a reasonable price. But I think that Kevin Byard, who's probably going to get his third Pro Bowl nod of the year this year, I think him and Jaquan Brisker have both shown themselves. And Brisker this year as well, being more healthy than what let me knock on wood by saying that, being so healthy this year generally, I think that re-signing both these guys, and like I said, even if you still want to draft a safety for insurance or whatever else, you may be valid in doing that, but I think re-signing these guys, not creating any more questions at a position, could be beneficial for the Chicago Bears. And Jaquan Brisker, for what it's worth, we knew the one question with Brisker is, was he going to remain healthy? And so far this season, Jaquan Brisker has 62 tackles. He's going to fall a little bit short. His first 2 years in the league, he had over 100 tackles. He's seemingly going to fall short of that this year. It doesn't seem like he's going to be able to get 40-something tackles over the remaining 5 games. But, he's played 12 games this season for the Chicago Bears. Every game he's played into as well, which is really good for this team. He has 1 sack so far on the season as well with 1 interception. He's gotten 1 interception every year of his career. I think by re-signing both these guys, it just makes sense for where the place with your team is. But let me know what you guys think on that down below. Should the Chicago Bears prioritize keeping their safeties together this year? At the end of the season, let me know what you guys think on that. But that's a wrap for today's episode of Chicago Bears. The Bears are 9-3. The national media respect continues to grow for this team, which is really good. And now we roll into this game against the Packers with something to prove. And I think this Bears team is going to prove a lot. If you appreciated today's episode, make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button as well. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I also want to hear from you guys down below in the comments section. Make sure you guys are following us at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.